Hello everyone and welcome to a really awesome game played in 1863 in Manchester between Alexander Steinkuehler and Joseph Henry Blackburne, who they called the Black Death. Now, we've covered a few games by Joseph Henry Blackburne by now, and those of you who have been following the channel for quite some time know why they call him the Black Death, or at least why we think they call him the Black Death. But for those of you who are perhaps new to the channel, why do you think they called him the Black Death? And also, we are using the photo of the hoodie guy since we know nothing about Mr. Steinkuehler other than the fact that he played a match against Joseph Henry Blackburne in 1863 in Manchester, and that he drew a game against Wilhelm Steinitz 11 years after this game in 1874, also in Manchester. So he was definitely a capable player. But this game, it's a blindfold game. Now, I don't know if both of them are actually playing blindfolded or just Mr. Blackburne here. But either way, it's a very enjoyable game. So without further ado, let's check it out. And also do be a part of the subscribers video. It's going to be awesome. If you don't know what it is, all the needed information will be in the description below. So do check it out. So with the white pieces, Alexander Steinkuehler opens with e4. We have e5. Knight to f3, knight to c6, and now bishop to c4, the Italian game. We have bishop to c5 and now c3, the main line of the Gioco Piano. We have knight to f6 and now d4 by white. So white knows his theory. We have e captures on d4, c captures, and bishop to b4 check by Blackburne. Now, for some reason, white didn't go for knight to c3, the Greco attack. White countered with bishop to d2, which is also playable. It's just, especially in those days, knight to c3 was considered the main line. For those of you who don't know what the Greco attack is, the Greco attack is the greatest attack in chess. It follows after knight to c3. Black grabs a pawn and white just castles. And here, well, there are a lot of ways to play this, but in the old days, weaker players would often capture on c3, and after pawn captures, bishop captures on c3, attack the rook. White would go queen to b3, put pressure on f7, and also attack the bishop here. So here, you have to play d5 if you want to survive anything, but weaker players used to capture on a1, and then you just get bishop captures on f7 check, king f8, and bishop to g5. The queen has nowhere to go, you have to block with the knight, and after knight e7, rook e1, and that's just it. Next move, you're going to capture on e7, and it's game over. So that's what the Greco attack is and how it was played in the old days. But there's also, I don't know if you remember this, I made this video like 3 years ago. It's called The Boy Who Wanted to Play Chess or something like that, when Tarash or maybe Chigorin, I think it was Chigorin held a simultaneous exhibition, and then he played against a little kid and reached this position with white, and then after bishop to g5, the kid didn't block with knight e7, the kid just played knight captures on d4, but Chigorin was also playing blindfolded, and he didn't know what to play here. He thought the kid, beat the Greco attack, which was, the Greco attack stood the test of time. And here Chigorin was very impressed, and he didn't find queen a3 check. You just check the king, and next move you pick up the queen. He continued the game in some other fashion. I don't know, maybe he just captured the queen and continued the game. In the end, he won the game, but he was very sad that the kid didn't really, beat the Greco attack. If you're interested in that video, and if you also want to have a good laugh, because it's a really old video, and well, do check it out. I will also put a link to it in the description below. It will be the first thing you will see. But okay, that's for that video. After bishop to b4 check, no Greco attack, bishop to d2 by Mr. Steinkuehler. We have bishop captures, and now not knight b captures on d2, which would be reasonable, as both of these pawns are now defended, but instead white goes for knight f captures on d2. So, makes no sense. That's why I don't know if both of them were playing blindfold or what, or is it just some sort of a tricky pawn sacrifice? Well, whatever it is, the Black Death accepts the pawn on d4. We have knight captures on d4, white castles, and now d6. We have knight to b3 now, offering a trade of knights. Knight captures on b3, queen captures on b3 now, putting pressure on f7, and here black just castles. We have rook to e1, defending the pawn here, and now knight to h5. Blackburne makes room for the queen to come on h4, and then you want to play, or g5, and then you want to play knight to f4, create threats against the g2 pawn. well, that's basically the plan. And here again, white should continue knight to c3. He should just continue developing pieces, but instead he goes e5. And okay, probably to open up some lines, then go knight c3, get rook to d1, maybe with an attack on the queen. Either way, Blackburne goes queen to g5, now preparing knight to f4. We have e captures on d6, white just grabs a pawn. With knight to f4, threatening mate here, and here white plays bishop captures on f7. You should play something like queen g3 and then trade queens and then continue playing the game. White is even better here. But he went for bishop captures on f7 check, and here, in Blackburne's own words, he says, this tempting but unsound move led to all his subsequent troubles. So here, of course, if you capture the bishop, then rook e8 is mate in 1, since the rook is now pinned. However, Blackburne just moved the king. We have king to h8, and now you still have to defend against mate. So g3, and here Blackburne doesn't continue with knight h3 check. First, he decides to grab this pawn. It is a blindfold game, after all. We have knight to c3 now, finally continuing development, and only now knight to h3 with check. We have king to g2, and now queen to f6, pressuring the bishop and also the f2 pawn. So what do you play here? Here, white, it's a very interesting position, and I'm just going to show it. I don't know if there's a point in showing it, since it's a blindfold game, played in 1863, but it's a very enjoyable position, so I will show it here. White played bishop to d5. He was very greedy. He wanted to control everything, but f3 actually allows white to continue playing the game. For example, if rook captures on f7, you have rook to e8 with check. Rook to f8, and now knight to e4. You attack the queen, and the queen doesn't really have any good squares. If queen f5, you just push the queen back, and the problem is black has rook captures on e8. Now you can give up the queen, and now rook to e2 with check. King f1, and now bishop to e6, attack the queen. Queen captures on b7, and now bishop to c4. And now the game continues, since white is unable to grab the rook. White would have to figure out something else, like queen to c6 or something. Point is that if you capture the rook, then rook blocks with a discovered check from the bishop, and now after king g2, now you just pick up the queen, and, well, both of the knights are hanging, so you're just going to move this knight, let's say knight to e4, and then you just get bishop to e6, defending the knight, and the game continues, and well, black is up a piece, so white will not be able to capture on a8. But there was a way to continue the game with f3. However, white was either greedy or he missed it. It was a blindfold game. He played bishop to d5, but now black has a forced checkmate in 4 moves, and it's what Blackburne calls the clean mate. Not sure if Blackburne, I don't think Blackburne coined the term a clean mate. I just, I follow a lot of chess, and I've never heard of the term clean mate. So feel free to pause the video and try to find this clean mate in 4 moves while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on finding such a clean mate, even though I don't really know what a clean mate is. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it's queen captures on f2 with check. I'm sure you all found that one. King to h1, and now queen to g1 check. You sacrifice the queen. Rook captures on g1. Now comes knight to f2 with check. So if this was mate, it would be a smothered mate. But since you still have king to g2, now bishop delivers mate with bishop to h3. And this is what Blackburne calls a clean mate. And we also have the quote above the board. In chess language, this is a clean mate and is considered one of the most beautiful ever produced in actual play. Now, I don't know if he's referring to this game exactly. Is this the most beautiful mate ever produced in actual play, or just that clean mates are the most beautiful mates produced in actual play? But whatever, it is a beautiful mate. Like a smothered mate, although king still has one more move after it's not a smothered mate, and then the bishop delivers mate, I guess, for a clean mate. Yeah, maybe that's what a clean mate is. Whatever it is beautiful, and I definitely did enjoy it, and I hope you enjoyed it as well. And I would like to thank Menai for suggesting this game using hashtag suggestion. So thank you for that. And it was really nice to take a small break from modern chess. So yeah, I would also like to thank Joseph McGinnis, and Christos Nosis for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot, I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon. Continuing, well, starting basically the coverage of the FIDE Grand Prix, the last leg, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions such as this one, and whatever else happens in the chess world. And once again, do be a part of the subscribers video. If you don't know what it is, check the description below. So thank you all, I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.